So, another 3 points in the bag. Blackburn dropping points to a Rotherham team that we didn't see that coming. I know they've made a couple of half-decent additions, but we might have to be a little bit wary. I know they've been rubbish, but teams can turn, can't they? I've done my Stoke review, which you can see in previous video. We're going to look forward to Hull a little bit later on in the video and do a little bit of Watch Your Team. We're going to switch it around a little bit, the format today, because I think it's important to go into some off-the-pitch stuff first and foremost. So here's off the pitch. So off the pitch, there's been a fair bit of news since we've last touched base. First thing to note is Illiman's fine. He went down and came off what we thought were a precautionary sub, but did look like he was limping a little bit against Stoke. Thankfully, Ecky's updated us all to say he's fine. No issues at all. He's trained as expected. Next thing to touch on is Ollie Mack is back on the grass, as they say. Back training with lads. Would be fit enough to play some part against Hull on Friday, but Ecky's going to weigh up his options. He's leaning that way. He says, I would fully expect him to be on the bench. Other notable mentions are for George Baldock, Ender Stevens, still weeks away from coming back, but Kieran Clark and John Fleck are back on the grass also, but they're not quite recovered to the same level as McBurney. But obviously, with George and Ender picking up those training ground injuries, it's a little bit of a concern, to be fair. Another bit of news I wanted to touch on was Max Lowe. Max Lowe has gone online and basically said he had to have a word with himself. He didn't say it as polite as that. He basically said he needs to get his head out from up his arse. This is referring to when he initially came back from his Forest loan, had first couple of games with us, and there were talks about Forest wanting to make it permanent and we didn't want to let him go. Since that time, he's been superb for us. I know he's had a spell out injured, but he's up there battling with Reece for me as, you know, who is the best left wing back in the team, and both have got strong arguments to say that they would be the one. Obviously Reece is out injured at the minute. I think Ender's now I won't say a distant third, but he's certainly at least third. Harry Boy's on loan now at Lincoln. He was at Forest Green, young Harry Boy's. He's our fourth wing back, if you like. I think that would sort of determine what's going to happen with Ender at season. I think this will be Ender's last year with us. Other news, Will Asula. Obviously, he'd been on loan at Derby. We've recalled him because he weren't getting that many starts. He were getting little bits of sniffs and stuff like that, which were great for him playing with Didsey, but I don't think he was that prolific. And maybe 5 goals I'd seen he got, which ain't too bad, but he weren't, as they continued to strengthen their team. They've got James Collins and obviously Didsey who are in front of him. So we've recalled him. It were initially to sort of assess him and see whether we could get a Kadri replacement. The latest update from Ecky is he's going to stay with us. He's not going to go back out on loan. Now, whether that means we're not getting a Kadri replacement, who knows? Potentially that might be what it means. It might be that changes, because we know things do change quickly in football. But at the moment he's carrying an injury anyway. Its latest update is that he's injured his jaw, broken his jaw or something to that degree. So in training, so another training ground injury to add to the list. He's also suspended for 3 games. He got sent off in his last game for Derby, and now he's cup tied for Wrexham. So even if he was going to play, he can't now due to injury. That will obviously still give us right up until the deadline, because we know he won't play for us until next month if he's going to stay. But that will give us right up until the deadline to decide whether he can go out, and that would obviously likely be determined as to whether we get a replacement in or not. The big news that we're all anticipating and waiting to hear a little bit about is the new ownership. Who are these mystery new prospective owners? And I think it makes us all a little bit nervous, and understandably so, that we don't know who they are, we don't know anything about them. It's rumoured to be the Mansour group from Egypt. Now, I have to say, before I sort of even discuss this is pure speculation. There is no concrete evidence of anything involving this group. It's purely speculative at this stage. There's no hard and fast rumours that it's them. Certain blades have started to, inquisitive blades have started putting two and two together and coming up with this theory, because he's previously admitted that he'd have an interest in acquiring a Premier League club, or certainly a top English club, and we know that we're in a very strong position at the moment in terms of potentially getting back to the Premier League. If it is this Mansour group, the billionaires. And it's very exciting to think, which is why I'm approaching with caution really. They're the only names that have been recently mentioned. I've asked Darren Smith on Twitter whether he can debunk it, so we can just put it to bed and not get too excited. He hasn't debunked it. He's sort of said, yeah, very clever, I like what you did there. But that certainly, please don't quote Darren as being the one to say that they were the ones, because it's confidential and we're speculating, and whilst we respect that, we're just desperate to know who it is. What Darren also did say, because obviously he's very close to Prince Abdullah, and I know it can sometimes divide opinion, but I think he's really insightful, and it's something we will miss when we're under new ownership, not having that access or insight into some of the thinking behind some of the decisions at the club. But it could be as short as 2 to 3 weeks that we find out. It's currently going to the EFL. There's been significant investment already in the team. That could mean anything really. That could be significant in terms of your general day-to-day, significant like 50 grand, which is a drop in the ocean to a football club, but can still be described as significant in everyday life, obviously. Or we could be talking millions. So it's certainly looking positive that there will be a change. I daren't let myself get excited about who it is, and with this only name on the table that we've heard so far, I'm in danger of getting too excited about an Egyptian billionaire coming in and taking us over and making us a real force and having a real go even if we don't do it this year or whatever it might be, and then we end up with Mike Ashley. I know it's not Mike Ashley, but someone similar or in a similar vein. So take what I've said with a pinch of salt, but obviously this is all about keeping people up to date with what's going on and what I'm hearing. As I say, it's certainly not confirmed by any means, and it's pure speculation at this point, but it's exciting to think about and even consider. With that in mind, today's spotlight, very briefly, is on His Royal Highness Prince Abdullah. Now, a controversial figure, as owners always are. So whoever this new owner is, it's highly unlikely that it will be unanimously loved. And that's certainly been Prince Abdullah's experience, I think, as an owner of Sheffield United. The one thing that really went against him was, and divided the fan base, me included, was not only parting company with Chris Wilder, but the way that the club handled Wilder's departure, NDAs and stuff like that, and not really thanking him on social media. It was clear that the relationship had soured, and from everything that we hear, Wilder was the one that instigated wanting to walk away with it. We know that the Prince had offered him even a stake in the club at one stage, so significant attempts to keep him. That was probably the most controversial element. I appreciate fans will always want more money to be spent. If we hadn't have spent the money in the Premier League on the players like Brewster and Berger and McBurney, and he'd have spent it on things like the infrastructure of the club, like the training ground and things of that nature, then people have been saying, well, we needed the players. Why have you only spent it on the club to sort of raise the value of the club for your own benefit, but not on the field? I don't think owners can win sometimes, and I've had to do a lot of self-reflection on this because I was very, not anti-Prince, because I don't think you can necessarily be all against, but I was certainly in Wilder's corner because he's a blade, he's one of us. We enjoyed some of the best times under him, and that will forever be a time capsule of success that we'll all look back on so fondly. But I don't think you can really argue with the progress that we've made under the Prince. Hecky's been such an astute appointment. If Hecky had come in straight after Wilder, I think we'd all have been underwhelmed. I think we had to go through the pain of Slav getting a name in that we were all after. Nobody disagreed with Slav coming in. And in hindsight, it was a terrible appointment. And looking at bigger picture, the style of play that he wanted to implement with the squad we had was never going to work. But we were all excited because he's had previous success. But look at the job that Hecky's doing, So it was a well thought out, structured plan that wasn't delivered great. That first press conference with the new chairman telling us that they weren't really concerned about what fans thought. That certainly I don't think what he meant, but he was trying to get across that, look, we've got a plan in place and we're going to do what's best for the club. Communication could have been worked on a little bit better. I think we can all agree on that. But I think if this is the sort of swan song for the Prince, we have to thank him and reflect positively on his time with us. I think the only thing that would damage his legacy would be if he were to sell us to an inappropriate incoming owner. And we have to be realistic. He's not a fan of Sheffield United. He's a businessman. I'm sure he's got an affinity to the club. And he'll do very well out of the club, and rightly so, because we've held on to our assets. We've held on to Ndiaye. I don't think he'll go in January. Different question for summer. I think we've given ourselves the best possible platform of getting back, and that's because the board have been strong. But I think we should reflect really positively on his time with us. It's more a case of who's this new owner going to be, and if he puts us in some really strong hands, he can't determine how the new owner runs things. But if he puts us in the hands of a billionaire, for example, like we've talked about, what more can he do to see us in good hands? And sort of, I think that'll solidify him as one of the best chairmen we've ever had. So that's my piece. Let me know what you think in the comments, because I'm really keen to hear. It's certainly one that's divided fans in the past, but I think a lot of us, like myself, have had to have a look at the situation and the bigger picture, and how he's progressed the club over that time. So yeah, be interested to see what your thoughts are. Final thing we're going to touch on today with our Hull preview. Again, we're not going to focus much on Hull because I don't think Hecky will be aware of their strengths. Will hopefully be aware of some of their weaknesses as well. I think they'll try and come shut up shop. They've got some really strong away form at the moment, which is something to be aware of. But I'll be there tomorrow night, and I always, when I'm thinking with my head rather than my heart, and I look at the players man for man and who we've got available, and we should be too strong for these. Should. It don't mean we will be. But I'm going to ask again, what's your team? So this is my team. No surprises really. I don't think McBurney will come back in straight away. I think this is an unchanged team, isn't it? Pretty much, and I think it should be. Sander I thought were terrible, as we've said, so I wouldn't be upset to see Doyle come in for him, who I thought did very well. Obviously, particularly for third last Saturday. So I won't be upset to see Tommy Doyle come in for Sander, but I think we all know that Ecky's got a big thing for Sander in terms of, because we know what he can deliver, and nobody will say you're daft for playing Sander Berger, because we've seen how good he can be, and I think we may be trying to play him back into a bit of form before some really tricky fixtures come round the corner. But we can't take our eye off the ball here. Hull won't be easy. You can't really go off the names of clubs in terms of, Hull aren't a massive club and things like that. They've hit a decent patch of form. So we'll have to be on the ball here. I would like to see Jebbo start, but I think it'll be Sharpie. And I understand why. But you all know my thoughts on that. So that's my team. Let me know what you do or what you think Eki will do. And I'm interested to hear. In terms of our subscriber count, you all know that we are on the canoe to 200. Not as much progress this time, which is to be expected. What I would say is if anybody's on Facebook or S2 forums or anything like that, if you can do us a massive favour and post a link just to let more people get eyes on it, it'd be much appreciated. But anything you can do to help us get those numbers up, and we'll try and get up to that golden 200 subscriber count, and then we'll look beyond there, won't we? But thanks again for your support, really appreciated. Thanks for all the comments that are coming in as well, because I'm loving hearing people's opinions. Nobody's wrong, it's all opinions, isn't it? You can disagree with me, you can agree with me. I love that interaction. It's been really positive so far. So thanks again. Looking forward to tomorrow night. It's tomorrow night as I record it. So, and I think we'll be okay. I'm gonna go for a 2-0 Blades victory. That's me being very positive. For those that know me, know I'm usually a pessimist, but 2-0 Blades. I fancy Illiman to get on the score sheet, and why not go for Jaden again? Because he's a man that's banging form. Come on, you red and white Wizards. Up the Blades.